they would all be dead. Every single one of them, unless a miracle happened. This is the story of the longest 5 hours in Napoleon's wars. June 14, 1807, Eastern Prussia. Napoleon Bonaparte needed a decisive victory. His last major battle at Eylau had been a bloody stalemate, thousands dead for nothing. The Russian army, led by General Bennigsen, was still in the field, still fighting. That morning, Marshal Lannes, one of Napoleon's most trusted commanders, stumbled upon the Russian army near the town of Friedland. But there was a problem. Napoleon and the main French army were hours away. Lannes had only 26,000 soldiers. The Russians, over 60,000. Any rational commander would have retreated, but Lannes wasn't just any commander. He looked at the battlefield and saw something the Russians didn't. They had positioned their entire army with their backs to the Alli River, only 2 bridges behind them. One wrong move and they'd be trapped. Lannes made an audacious decision. He would attack, not to win, but to pin them down, to keep them exactly where they were until Napoleon arrived. For 5 brutal hours, 26,000 Frenchmen held off an army more than double their size. Wave after wave of Russian cavalry and infantry crashed against the French lines. Lannes' men were bleeding, dying, but they didn't break. Every minute they held was another minute closer to salvation. At 5 p.m., the horizon darkened, not with storm clouds, but with 80,000 French soldiers. Napoleon had arrived. The emperor surveyed the battlefield and smiled. The Russians had made a fatal mistake. They were still trapped against the river, and now they were facing his entire Grande Armée. Napoleon turned to his artillery commander and gave a simple order. I want 40 cannon brought to within 60 yards of their lines. 60 yards? That's not artillery range, that's execution range. At 5:30 p.m., Napoleon's artillery opened fire at point-blank range. The sound was deafening. Entire Russian companies vanished in seconds, torn apart by grape shot and cannonballs. The Russian left flank collapsed completely. Panic spread like wildfire. Thousands of Russian soldiers tried to retreat across those 2 narrow bridges. The bridges couldn't handle the weight. Men were crushed, trampled, pushed into the river. Many drowned in their heavy uniforms, pulled down by the current. By nightfall, the Russian army had lost over 25,000 men, nearly half their force. The French, around 8,000 casualties. It was a massacre. 1 week later, Tsar Alexander sued for peace. The War of the Fourth Coalition was over. Napoleon stood at the height of his power, master of Europe. And it all came down to one man's courage to hold the line when retreat seemed like the only option. This was the Battle of Friedland.